Well, thank you all for coming. We're looking forward to talking about unlocking the power of Domo AI, and what I'm really passionate about, and so is our company, is getting your data like AI ready. So, all right. Thank you. All right, so who we'll be talking about today? It'll be Nathan and I will be talking about how to get your data AI ready. My name's Tyler Shiflett, founder and CEO of Data Consulting. I was first exposed to Domo as a customer when I was working at Target about 10 years ago. Worked for different organizations in the Twin Cities, Optum, UHC. I do also have the certifications. So Nathan, why don't you go ahead?
My name's Nathan Klisch. I'm a data engineer. I have 3+ years in data analytics and 3+ years of experience in Domo. I would consider myself an app expert, and I also have the accreditation and technical certifications.
All right. Well, cool. This will be overview of what we're going to cover today. So we're going to go over AI's role in data analytics, and how like Domo AI is transforming decision making within the business. We're going to go over the core capabilities, benefits. We're going to talk about some real world use cases and best practices for structuring your data sets. And then we'll do a live demo, which I'm really excited about. All right. What is Domo AI? At this conference, I think you have a good understanding of it now. But quickly, it's advanced AI-powered analytics and it's automation within the Domo platform. I think it's so cool that as soon as these features are enabled, it's just right into your instance right away. So, it's going to enhance data processing, insights, decision making. Some key features are, AI-driven insights, MPL, machine learning recommendations, and intelligent data visualization and automation. That's pretty sweet. So why use Domo AI? I would like to think it's going to make us more efficient in our workplace, right? If you need to ask using the AI chatbot, if you need to ask a quick question, we'd like to think that the accuracy will be improved, accessibility. If you're a business user, you don't need to necessarily know SQL to start getting some of these answers. It can scale inside the Domo environment, and it does have some customization if you want to get real deep in the code. So here's are some of the who uses Domo AI that we've seen with some of our clients, right? Some of our marketing use cases, they're using it to predict customer behavior, optimize campaigns, and analyze performance metrics. Finance and operations, we've seen some of it automating some financial reporting, detect anomalies, and forecast trends. And then some of the other industries, customer support, IT security, healthcare. We've seen some cool stuff with that with one of our healthcare clients. They are using it to ask a lot of questions against data sets that we've put together, specifically doctors. So that's pretty cool. And here's our kind of predictions of the future of Domo AI. I think they're going to continue to expand the capabilities of the tool. We've seen so much released this week already. I think the AI chatbot's going to improve for deeper insights, enhance machine learning, greater integration with third-party AI models, which we saw, and continuous advancements in AI-driven storytelling and visualizations. All right. Cool. So at this point, we're going to do a live demo on Domo AI and how to get the data ready for that. So we'll switch it over.
All right. Hello, everyone. To reintroduce myself, my name is Nathan, and I have 3+ years in Domo and data analytics as a whole. Today, we're going to explore how AI chat works in Domo, how to prepare data for AI, and how to use Domo's pre-built AI models. Whether you're new to AI or have some experience, this session will give you practical insights. By the end of this demo, you'll understand how AI chat works, how to get your data AI ready, and how to take advantage of AI models in Domo. So what is AI chat? AI chat is a function of the AI agent that leverages natural language processing, or NLP, to understand and respond to user queries. It uses pre-trained models or fine-tuned models to generate responses based on inputs. Think of AI chat and the AI agent like a smart assistant that can interpret what you're asking and pull the right insights for you. Instead of manually searching for data, you just ask a question and AI does the work. This is an app we at DataUp created to help demonstrate AI chat capabilities. It displays data pertaining to car accidents in Minnesota, where we are located. One second.
The live demo curse.
Perfect.
Yay. All right.
So this is an app that displays car accidents in Minnesota, going over crash frequency by speed limit, sites in Minnesota, time of day or day of week, as well as injury type or seatbelt status. So to open AI chat, we can simply click this button in the top right corner where it says AI chat. It opens up a chat window similar to those located on website store pages where you can talk to. Perfect.
Yeah. I don't
Might have to.
Don't even.
Okay, so it opens up a chat window similar to those located on website store pages, where you can talk to employees and get additional help. We can start by inputting a basic question like which cities have the highest number of crashes involving pedestrians or cyclists. So I will copy that over quick. This data isn't outwardly displayed in any of the visuals on the app, so Domo AI will parse through the dataset chosen and find the answer for us. After we give it a second to think, it will display. Oh my God. Oh, you're good.
All right.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and re-ask that question. All right. So after we give it a second to think, it will display not only our answer to our question, but it will also throw together a visual displaying our answer. So if we scroll to the top, we can see that it is now custom generating a SQL query. It'll then query the data set and then generate a visual to display our answer. So if we just give it a second, you can see it's now generating a chart. And now it's outputting an answer. So based on our question, we can see that Minneapolis, Minnesota, with 433 crashes, is the most common accident, or the most common place of where these accidents are pertaining. From here, we can stop and exit back to the app or further ask questions, drilling into the data even deeper. For example, after seeing the output, I would like to know what time of day do these crashes tend to occur? So we can go ahead and copy the follow-up question as well. Paste that in. And it'll once again generate a query for SQL, query the data set, and then generate a visual. So something that used to be only possible with a knowledge base of SQL can now be accessed by any and everyone, no matter your level of coding capability. So we can see it's now finished generating and outputting an answer. Based on our question, we can see that between the time period of 7 a.m. and 7:59 a.m. is when these crashes tend to most likely occur. Assumedly, this is the morning commute, the morning rush to work. But how does Domo AI know the answer? Well, AI is only as good as the data it works with. If we feed it messy or incomplete data, the insights won't be useful. So preparing data properly is key. Data should be structured, clean, and labeled appropriately. AI models rely heavily on structured data sets to generate accurate insights. To prepare your data, first use Domo's Magic ETL to remove duplicates, handle missing values, and normalize fields. Next, make sure the data is structured. Ensure columns are labeled meaningfully and relevant fields such as dates, categories, and measures are well defined. For our example today, we pulled data directly from Snowflake. We changed the data type for our date column to a timestamp and fixed an issue occurring in our longitude column. Once the data is prepped, we can move on to getting the data AI ready. We can do this by going to the AI Readiness tab on said dataset. You can also view the AI readiness of your dataset at the bottom of the overview page. Getting a dataset AI ready entails giving context to each column and adding synonyms you can think of. Adding synonyms to your columns will help Domo AI know how to best use your data, while adding context will help Domo AI understand your data. Now, this isn't absolutely necessary to use AI chat or any other AI features, but it greatly increases the success rate and accuracy of the predictions. It is important to note as well that not all columns in your dataset need to be given context. In reality, it may even hinder the AI agent. A best practice is to look through your data and determine which columns are most necessary to answering questions that may appear from your users and to give those specific columns the needed context and synonyms. All right, we're going to hop to a dataset that is not AI ready and show you the process of getting it AI ready. So to do that, you can go ahead and hit the Add Columns down here at the AI Readiness tab on your dataset. This will open up the AI dictionary where you can select the specific columns you wish to add. For this dataset, we only have 2 columns, so we'll just go ahead and add them both. This will again open up the AI dictionary, and this is where we can add context and synonyms to our columns. So I will copy over a pre-written context. For our example today, I wrote, the date column represents the date of the accident or incident or report. It's useful for tracking the occurrence of events over time, best for filtering incidents by date or analyzing trends across specific time frames. We can also add a synonym. I recommend anywhere from 1 to 3 synonyms be added. For our example, I'm adding date of incident. This column DOI date stands for date of incident date, so date of incident would be a good synonym for that. Once we're finished here, we can go ahead and hit save. And we can keep track of our AI readiness up here at the top. We can see how many columns we have enabled, the amount of characters used in context. It's important to keep this gauge in the green. We don't want to add too much context. We can also see the amount of synonyms we've added, as well as the columns that are missing context. Again, be careful not to add too much context, as too much can lower accuracy and increase response times. Once your dataset is fully AI ready, you can use another function of the AI agent other than AI chat, which is the content or app creator. So I will jump back to this dataset that is fully AI ready, and we can see the content or app creator right down here. We simply need to click it. It'll open up this window where we can choose the dataset we wish to use here. Since we navigated here from a dataset, it'll have it auto set. And from here, we can just hit Get Started to kick it off. The AI agent will then check data permissions, query the dataset, validate PDP, and start to generate key insights into the data as well as a multitude of visualizations covering the data. If we just give it a couple minutes, we can see this being done live. So first, it's going to find 5 key insight categories based on the columns in the dataset. It will then use those 5 key insight categories to generate visuals pertaining to those insight categories. So we can see it's now finding the key insight categories, which, for example, are crash severity, impaired driving impact, geographical distribution, temporal patterns, and then safety factors and speed analysis. It is now generating the visuals for us. And once these visuals are generated, we can add them to an app or dashboard or add it to an existing app or dashboard. Create a new dashboard, for example. We can also deselect visuals we don't like so they won't be added onto our new app or dashboard or existing app or dashboard. So it is now currently validating results, and we should see it start to populate here soon. These are the crash severity visuals. It'll then go through the rest of the 5 key insight categories, displaying the visuals it produces. Once it is finished, I will show you where you can add it to an existing dashboard or app, or how to create a new one with it. I will also show you how to deselect. So we just give it a couple of seconds, it'll finish up.
I mean, how cool is that?
It's going through temporal crash patterns now, and it should have one more insight category to go through.
This is all based on the fact that
You can do this when the data set isn't AI ready. It's just, it might not be as accurate. You might kind of get some goofy columns used. It's not going to be perfect. It might even take a bit longer as well. So getting the data set AI ready will increase its accuracy and response time so it's quicker, faster, and more useful visuals are produced by it. So to deselect for specific, we don't want this injury severity distribution by month. There's no data in the card. We don't want it being added to our visual. So we can simply hit deselect as well as this one. From here, we can go to the bottom where it says create dashboard or create app. We can, of course, click this button. It'll give us a chance to name our app or dashboard, and then we can produce these visuals to that new app or dashboard. We can also hit either of the drop-downs and add it to an existing app or dashboard that's already been created. So another use of AI in Domo is the pre-built machine learning models. We can use these models in a few different ways. We can train a model off our dataset or use pre-builts available in the ETL interface. To train a model, first select a dataset, then select the Train New AutoML button down here on the overview page. Now, I have already trained the model on this dataset to save time, as it can take up to 30+ minutes to train. But to show the interface, I can select to retrain the model here. Once we're here, we must select the column we want to predict and the task type we'd like to use. So for our example today, I would like to predict the number of motor vehicles involved in these accidents. We can now select the task type we wish to use. There are 3 different options we can choose from. Regression, which works best with numeric values. Binary classification, which works with Boolean data. And then multi-class classification, which classifies groups of data. For this example, we'll be choosing the regression model as we are predicting a numerical column. If you select the advanced options here, you can choose how many models you wish to run. Anywhere from 25 to 100, the more you run, the more accurate, but the longer it will take to run. Under objective metric here, we see MSE. MSE stands for mean squared error, which is a metric in statistics and data analysis that quantifies the average of the squares of the errors, which are the differences between predicted values and actual values. So the closer to 0 the MSE, the more accurate the model is. Once the model is trained, you will see this view here. Here, we can see all the different models ran and how accurate they were. Since we chose 25 for this example, we can see all 25 models in this window. But if we scroll to the top, we can see that model 6, with a model type of XG boost, has a validation MSE of 0.28 and is thus our most accurate model. From here, we can deploy it to our ETL by simply clicking this button here. Once in the ETL, you will see this AutoML inference object already placed connected to your object or your dataset. To get a successful output, it's as simple as placing an output dataset and running the ETL. Before we do that though, I want to bring your attention to this forecasting object here. You can find both of these objects as well as a few more in the data science dropdown on the left of the window. Due to time constraints, we'll be focusing on just these 2 models today though. Now, with the AutoML inference object, we don't need to make any adjustments, but that's not true for the forecasting object. To successfully use the forecasting object, simply open the configuration panel. We then want to select the date column we wish to use, as well as the numerical column we wish to predict. So for our example, I've chosen date again, as well as number of vehicles to predict the amount of vehicles happening in these crashes. We next need to select how wide the prediction band should be, essentially how accurate you want the predictions to be. I always leave it at the base set 95 or 95% accurate. Next, we can determine how many new dates should be predicted and then how many preceding rows should be considered when scoring each row. So I've chosen to predict 28 dates into the future. I've left the preceding rows to be considered at 0, but what this means is it's essentially weighing the more recent entries higher than previous ones. For example, say COVID had a major impact on sales for that time period. You could weigh the last 10 months higher than past dates to not allow the COVID dip to too greatly affect the predictions. Next, we simply need to name the 3 columns being output. I always keep it with the basic prediction, prediction upper, and prediction lower. I can explain more what these entail in the next couple minutes. Finally, we need to indicate the time period the date column in your data set is set to. If your data is daily like ours is, we will set it to 7, as a week period is 7 days. If your data was hourly, we would choose 24, as there are 24 hours in a day, and monthly would be set to 12 for the 12 months in a year. Finally, we can set an output and run the ETL. After the ETL is finished, you can use the columns created through the models to visualize the predictions. Here we can see a visualization showing the amount of accidents happening on any given day. The new columns created through the model are shown here as the dark gray line in the shaded area. The dark gray line would be the prediction, and the shaded portions would show the prediction upper limit and lower limit, essentially being the max and minimum the model predicts for accidents in that given time period. We can now go and see the output for the AutoML model. For this card, we are visualizing monthly revenues shown by the blue line, right here, and then the revenue predictions built by the model shown by the green line. As we can see, the prediction follows closely to the actual revenues and proceeds past where our data ends and predicts what our revenues may look like in the upcoming months. Now, looking back at the revenue and revenue prediction, we can see that it's not perfect, but it follows the ebbs and flows of the line graph throughout the months. So it's most likely going to be a pretty accurate prediction of what revenues will look like in the upcoming months or years. To wrap things up for the live demo though, we covered how AI Chat and Domo can quickly extract insights from your data, how to properly prepare your data sets for AI, and how to implement Domo's pre-built AI models to enhance your analysis. Some key takeaways I have. AI Chat simplifies data exploration, making insights more accessible without needing SQL knowledge. Preparing your data is crucial. Clean, structured, and AI-ready data leads to better, faster results. Domo's pre-built AI models offer powerful predictive capabilities that can be easily deployed in ETL. Whether you're just getting started with AI or looking to optimize your current workflow, these tools can significantly improve how you interact with and analyze data in Domo. I will now pass it back to Tyler to finish off our presentation and then start us off on the Q&A portion.
Thank you, Nathan. So just to kind of give you a visual, I would say, of what we've talked about and kind of the AI data readiness, this might be a good picture for you guys. But something that I'm passionate about is that first top left one, right? Ensure your data quality, right? Make sure it's you've done, you guys have always done, right? Clean the data, aggregate the data, fix data. Make sure that is solid before you start building it in the AI readiness window, excuse me. And structure the data for AI models, which Nathan showed. Label key fields. I think what we were getting at there was making sure also the data types are right. So if I think the AI model will work better, like if it says it's date, but somehow it detects it's string, make sure it says date.
It's also important with labeling for example, if you have multiple numerical columns all showing different amounts of money, make sure to name it revenue so the model knows that it's accounting for revenue. If you have for example, a number of vehicles involved in accidents, number of pedestrians involved in accidents, make sure that labeling says pedestrians or cars so that an AI model knows what to use for when you're asking specific questions in the AI chat or AI models.
Perfect.
It can be if you don't give it the right context for labeling. So it's best to be as clear and concise as possible when labeling and naming these columns, just to make sure no issues or mishaps can happen.
Mm-hmm. I think that would be a good, maybe bring in some of the different business units, right? If you're marketing, right, they're going to have quite a bit of contexts and synonyms that they were probably going to be asking AI chat. So I think that would be important. You want to optimize, data for performance, maintain data freshness. And I think, Nathan, I would actually like you to maybe quickly talk about the tests with small data samples.
Yeah, so when you have a massive data set, it sometimes can be hard to tell if the answer output is fully correct. So it's best to test the AI chat, the AI readiness with smaller data sets that you can easily confirm the answers to. Mm-hmm. You don't want to, for example, give your users access to this when you don't know for sure if it's giving accurate insights. So it's best to test with small data sets, small batches of data, just so you can fully confirm that the answers being output are correct and accurate. You don't want bad answers going out to your users, for example.
Perfect. Uh-oh. Are we able to go to the next slide? All right, thank you. So some key takeaways for today before we hop in the Q&A, right? AI chat is gonna, help simplify some of that data exploration. Like I said earlier, as a business user, they don't need to know SQL, and they can start asking questions, and it'll generate the SQL and answer it for them. Preparing your data is crucial. Make sure it's clean, structured, AI ready. It'll lead to better results. And congrats. It's awesome what the Domo team's put together, and they're continuing to put together. With their pre-built AI models, we're thinking they're going to offer more powerful predictive capabilities and can be easily deployed, just like Nathan was showing in the ETL. So it worked that time. All right. Well, cool. This is our Q&A session. We actually brought Brandon, if you'd like to come up on stage. He is our Domo expert here. Right? Does that work?
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right. Yeah.
I'm Brandon Wardell. I'm a director of engineering for the labs org at Domo, and what we do is we've helped build these AI capabilities, if not all of the AI capabilities in Domo. So my team runs a big portion of that. We do the AI service layer and the integrations into other model platforms such as Databricks, Snowflake, Oracle, you name it, where we'll build an integration to it so that if you guys are using models in your warehouse or your provider, we can connect to it so you can use all the amazing capabilities that they demonstrated today in Domo.
Perfect.
In your very first, when you first did the AI chat, you are only using one data set. Do you have to only use one data set in order to have your AI chat to work properly on that dashboard?
No, you can have multiple. So what it'll try to do is, one thing that's important about AI readiness is if you've got multiple, the AI readiness will help the AI decide which one to do. So it'll make a decision on which data set's the most suited to your question, and then it'll build a query and try to answer it. Good question.
2 seconds.
Great question, and that's part of what was announced earlier today of that modeling semantic layer. So you're ahead of the game. But yeah, absolutely.
No, wait.
Thank you. Two questions, one very related to the one that just passed, but the first one is, can you leverage data dictionaries that are saved on a different platform, Alation, Unity Catalog, any type of data dictionary that you already have? Can you leverage that into the AI readiness of a data set?
Great question. So that is what we're working on right now, because that was one of the first things we recognized when we built the AI readiness that they demonstrated is exactly what you mentioned. So not yet, but will be, absolutely.
Okay, great. And the second part is, can you block a data set from being used by the AI chat?
That's a good one. I don't know the exact answer to block it, but you can. So in that context window, so there's I'm going to answer it in two ways. One, you can go and uncheck the ones you don't want included in your question if you want. So on each question, you can control if you want. But also, one of the announcements today was you can embed AI chat in, Domo everywhere. And part of that, you will be able to limit what is going to be used in that context. So when your customers are asking questions, it's only going to look at the data sets you specified exactly. So it'll be an inclusive list.
Excuse me, in the earlier slide with the data prep, and you're talking about labeling your fields, I know there's a concept of synonyms, but are you also referring to the actual field names? So, like vehicles underscore count or something like that?
Yes, so we are, like for example, the labeling would be the name of the column, for example. So the actual name of the column should, for example, if it's based on revenue, should mention revenue, or if it's based on number of vehicles, make sure it says number of motor vehicles or num motor vehicles, just so the AI knows exactly what that column is pertaining to.
Yeah, and to add to that, so one thing that was mentioned is if your column name is good and it's accurate, you probably don't need to add synonyms. The main benefit of synonyms is in a lot of cases, the same column can be referenced different ways by business users. So you can have a column that, your finance department would call revenue, but then in a different department, it'd be called something else. That was a poor example, but that's the whole point, and that's why we use the name synonym, is because there will be different names for the same column across different departments. So when different people are asking questions, it's going to use the right data to answer.
Thank you. Hello. I have two questions. First one around kind of the level of nuances a data set or Domo AI and the AI readiness that you'll have is able to handle right now. Have you ever gotten to a data set where you have, let's say, one column that aggregates multiple things? And have you seen the AI chat be able to handle that? I can explain with an example.
Yeah, could you explain that if you could?
Sure. So let's say there's a time granularity column that you have, and you have multiple lifetime, daily, weekly, monthly records in that. So each lifetime will give you an aggregated number of how many people have done something. Monthly will give you the same thing, weekly on a weekly basis, daily on a daily basis. Have you come across that? If you have you seen AI chat resolve or understand that bit?
Yes, I'm glad you called that out because that comes up quite a bit. And what we found is in the description of the column, and this is just one example, in the future we're going to make more ways to make this easier to configure. But for now, the best thing that we found is in the description of the column, you can say, this is already aggregated, do not aggregate again. And that usually is enough cue for the AI to say, okay, just use the column as is and group by a different way. So good question.
Awesome, thank you. And the second question might be a little jumping on the gun over here, and you might be working on something in the future. But have you used AI to kind of, Domo AI specifically, to find out any hidden insights in the data sets? So without asking it, or the way you generated through the querying, I forget what it was called, but you generated a lot of different cards which you could send it into a dashboard or an app. Have you ever seen this work in a way where it has found out novel hidden insights from the data sets?
That is a good question. Do you guys, if not, no worries.
I don't.
Okay, so for that one, I'm going to say yes, but not on a major scale, not like groundbreaking, change my life career way, but in a I didn't think of it that way type of answers. The main examples being in what you mentioned, the app generator, because that's pretty vague. You just say, here's the data set, go generate something. And there's often been times where we look at it and say, wow, I didn't quite expect it to do that good. That was impressive. And then the other place is when you're in AI chat, it has suggested questions. Some of those are quite profound, and ones that really, kind of like Chris Willis earlier today explained, where they're very suggestive, and then it gets the juices pumping so you can ask those good questions.
Just kind of curious, when you're using an app and you have multiple data sets in them, and this, let's just assume you have two data sets but with the same column name, click-through rate, let's say. How do you, like, if you were to ask in the chat, how does it know which one to go to?
That's a great question. And part of it is what they've demonstrated is the AI readiness. So it's going to use all of the information you give it to make a decision. And it'll be arbitrary. It'll do the best it can, but it'll be based on the information you give it. So a lot of this AI readiness and data prep that you have to do is there's going to be some trial and error where you test with like a small user group. And so when they ask questions, some of them they'll get wrong, and then you can look into it and say, okay, maybe I add some information here so that it knows how to distinguish for those types of questions. So,
But what if both of the, but what if the data sets are both AI ready, like really high on both sides? Because what I know is that if you have one that's high, one's low, it'll take the high one. But what if both are high?
yep. No, that's a good point. And that's one of the things to acknowledge about all this AI that's happening is it's a general thing where it does the best it can, but it's up to us to use that tool and really zero it in where we need. So in the situation that you're suggesting, it'll just make a decision. And it'll probably get it wrong, it might get it right. And so it's up to us to use it properly and not have too big of a window or too many in common things. Like, for example, if you want specific, I keep going to finance, I'm trying to think of a different example, but try to silo them, because a lot of our instinct is to have like a giant master data set where everybody goes and everybody asks questions. But in that scenario, we're going to run into trouble. The AI, focus on everything, in my opinion, is focus on nothing. So it's just gonna spit out something, and you're probably not going to be very happy with it. So that's my 2 cents.
On the same question, isn't it possible to go in and adjust the synonyms to maybe more tailor it for one label versus the other?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. But I think maybe I was misunderstanding, but I understood that his question was, what if the columns are the same and the values, but yet the context around them is different?
Well,
So,
that's what I'm
yeah.
saying, is when you have the different contexts,
Yep.
you put something that's a little more descriptive.
Yep, absolutely, yes. Yep.
I would also like to add, you could also name the column specifically. So if one data set has CTR and another data set has CTR, maybe specify what that CTR is pertaining to in that data set. So as an alias, or just naming it out. For example, there's two data set 1 CTR, data set 2 CTR. Yeah, just so when you're asking a question, you can specify for data set 1 CTR, what is this going through? Or like specifically for data set 1, what is this question as? Or so it uses the specific right columns, for example.
Yes, so my question is, will the AI chatbot generate a different response based off of who is asking a question?
It will try, yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is in Domo, it takes everything into account for the user. So that includes personalized data permissions, role. We try to include as much information as possible to make it that customized.
Okay, so you're saying role is in whether, it can tell if it's at a director role or a manager role. Does it also take into account, let's say, if I've put someone into a finance group or a marketing group, does it take that information into account as well?
Yes, as long as you add it, because it'll take the user information and try. And when I say as long as you add it is you got to add it in Domo. It's not going to.
Right. So like, for example, putting someone into a marketing group or having all of that information locally located within Domo.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
That's interesting. Thank you.
I think we have time for about one more question. Or one more question.
We're getting the signal.
If you have a data set that you're bringing in a bunch of data, and I can look at that data and I can say, well, these 3 rows warrant looking into. The rest of the data is okay. It's not an anomaly. Can you just basically ask the AI to identify the issues that require looking into?
I'll need a little more info on that. Are you saying, can you ask it to do anomaly detection for you?
Something along those lines. In other words, I've got a go room that we meet every morning and we look at data. And there might be 15 rows of data there. Only 3 of them need an action taken. So could Domo analyze that data and say, these are the 3 rows that you really ought to look into?
Good question. So not right now, but we are working on an anomaly detection universal model. So it'll be a generalized way to have those types of use cases where you can just put it in an ETL, it'll run automatically, and you can hook up all the alerts and workflows that you need to get your work done.
All right. Us 3 will be outside the room for more questions if you guys have them, but I think we can say thank you for coming to our presentation.
Thank you.